Well, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are very early, arriving into the Panama Canal. It's around 6:30 in the morning, and the pilot has just got on board as we prepare ourselves to sail into the first lock here in Panama. Of course, our wonderful security team have been working very hard to make sure it's all good to go, and we're all ready to sail through our first lock. But ladies and gents, this is just the beginning of our journey, so I shall see you as we sail through the Panama Canal. Good morning.
Welcome to Panama!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the very front of the ship, of course, the bow, where you'll see a lot of guests already coming together. We've not yet gone through the first lock. We're all preparing for that moment when we sail through the first lock, ladies and gentlemen. So, fantastic place to start off our trip through the Panama Canal. But as you can see, it's a beautiful day. And in fact, we can just see over there for the starting point of the lock in front of us. But it's a perfect place to be. Ladies and gents, for the beginning of our journey together. So let's just see how this unfolds this afternoon. The canal cuts across Panama and is the key conduct for international maritime trade. The canal was completed in 1914 and is now managed and operated by the Panama Canal Authority, a Panamanian government agency. The canal consists of artificial lakes and several improved and artificial channels, and 3 sets of locks that at each end flow into the Gatun Lake. The lock chambers are 110 feet wide by 150 feet long, with a usable length of 1,000 feet. The dimensions determine the maximum size of the ship that can use the canal. The walls range in a thickness from 49 feet at the base to 9.8 feet at the top. Annual traffic has risen from about 1,000 ships in 1914 when the canal was opened to 16,000 vessels in 2016. The Panama Canal's expansion is the largest project of the canal since its original construction. The project will create a new line of traffic along the canal through the construction of a new set of locks. It will essentially double the waterway's capacity from an existing passage of up to 5,000 TEU to 13,000 TEUs. The Melflorus lock will lift the ship up 54 feet or 16.5 meters in 2 gates. This lock system is able to lift our ship up and down. The Norwegian Star weighs 91,740 gross tons. Each lock requires 26.7 thousand gallons of water to fill it up from a lowered to raised position and vice versa. The size of the lock determines the maximum size of the ship that can pass through them. Many ships are now built to the maximum size allowed. Panama Canal is the world's coolest shortcut. This canal is truly an unbelievable accomplishment, and so very important to maritime trade and industry. Ships traveling from New York to San Francisco save 7,872 miles by using the Panama Canal instead of going round the Cape Horn. Just past the Puente Centenario and we're going towards the Pedro Magal lock. Now that is 1.7 kilometers and it's going to lift the ship up about 10 meters as we go into this lock right here as well. So as you can see, it's pretty calm, pretty fantastic. The weather's pretty amazing as we just sail into the Pedro Magal lock right here. You don't know what's going to happen until, once again folks, we're going to sail through the lock. Did you know that the Gatun Lake is man-made? Artificially created in 1913 by the damming of the Chagres River, Gatun Lake is an essential part of the Panama Canal, which forms a water passage between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, permitting ships transit in both directions. Tolls for the canal are set by the Panama Canal Authority and are based on the vessel type, size, and the type of cargo carried. For container ships or cargo ships, the toll is assessed by the ship's capacity expressed in TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units, 1 TEU being the size of a standard intermodal shipping container. Effective May 2009, the toll is US dollars, $72 per TEU. But for us, a passenger ship, it depends on how many beds are occupied and how many are unoccupied. The charge is currently $92 for unoccupied berths and $115 for occupied. The lowest toll paid was 36 cents by the American Richard Halliburton, who swam the Panama Canal in 1928. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the machine you see just behind me is called Las Molas. It's indeed the mechanism of the machine that guides through the ship, through all the locks in the Panama Canal. The one behind me is actually the 2.0 version, one of the brand new ones, the newer generation of course, of these incredible major machines that take us through the lock. You can see that on the side there, there's a connection to the ship, and it takes and guides the ship through all the locks here in the Panama Canal. The third bridge over the Panama Canal, known as the Atlantic Bridge, is a road bridge under construction in Cologne, Panama. This bridge will span the Atlantic entrance to the canal. The project, carried out by the Panama Canal authorities, has a value of $366 million. The Atlantic Bridge will be the world's largest concrete cable stayed bridge. with a canal span of 530 metres. It will noticeably allow passengers of the largest container ships in accordance with the canal expansion programme. It would also allow vehicles to cross the Panama Canal on the Atlantic side whether or not the locks are in operation.
The Panama Canal is 48 miles long and connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans via the Caribbean Sea. The idea for a canal across Panama dates back to the 16th century. In 1513, Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa became the first European to discover that the Isthmus of Panama was just a slim land bridge separating the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. In 1534, after no such passage across the isthmus had been found, Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, ordered a survey to determine if one could be built, but the surveyors eventually decided that construction of a ship canal was impossible. In 1881, a French company headed by Ferdinand de Lesseps, a former diplomat, began digging a canal across Panama. The project was plagued by poor planning, engineering problems, and tropical diseases that killed thousands of workers. Gustave Eiffel, who designed the famous tower in Paris that bears his name, was then hired to create locks for the canal. However, the de Lesseps-led company went bankrupt in 1889. Every vessel that transits the canal must pay a toll based on its size and cargo volume. Tolls for the largest ships can run around $450,000. On average, it takes a ship 8 to 10 hours to pass through the canal. While moving through it, a system of locks raises each ship 85 feet above sea level. Following the failure of a French construction team in the 1880s, the United States commenced building a canal across a 50-mile stretch of the Panama Isthmus in 1904. The project was helped by the elimination of disease-carrying mosquitoes, while Chief Engineer John Stevens devised innovative techniques and spurred the crucial redesign from a sea level to a lock canal. His successor, Lieutenant Colonel George Washington Goethals, stepped up excavation efforts of a stubborn mountain range and oversaw the building of the dams and locks. The Panama Canal officially opened on August 15, 1914. The Panama Railway steamship SS Ancon, piloted by Captain John A. Constantine, the canal's first pilot, made the first official transit. The Panama Canal was transferred from the United States to Panama in 1999. Panama City is the capital and largest city of the Republic of Panama. It has an urban population of over 430,000, and its population totals 880,000 when rural areas are included. The city is located at the Pacific entrance of the Panama Canal in the province of Panama. Panama City is the political and administrative center of the country, as well as a hub for international banking and commerce. It has a dense skyline of mostly high-rise buildings, and it is surrounded by a large belt of tropical rainforest. The city of Panama was founded on August 15, 1519, by Spanish conquistador Pedro Arias de Villa. The city was the starting point for expeditions that conquered the Inca Empire in Peru. It was a stopover point of one of the most important trade routes in the history of the American continent, through which passed most of the gold and silver that Spain took from the Americas.
We hope you had an incredible journey through the Panama Canal. And on behalf of Captain Matthias and the officers, staff and crew, we'd like to thank you for sailing with us on the beautiful Norwegian Star.